Welcome to Wellness Snacks, a WorkWell NYC podcast providing bite-sized health and wellness tips for the city workforce. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm super excited to be here today to launch our first official podcast. Moving forward, our goal is to release a monthly Wellness Snacks podcast with a special guest who will provide fun and easy tips around a particular wellness topic. So lately, I feel like I've been hearing a lot about plant-based diets or lifestyles, and I guess I would consider myself veg curious in the sense that I try to be conscious of eating less meat and more fruits and vegetables. But I also have to admit, I do love meat. So it could definitely be a struggle at times, which always has me on the lookout for ideas on just how to eat a bit healthier and reduce my consumption of meat. So for today's episode, I invited my colleague Joanna to give her tips on how to eat more plants and less meat. So to start us off, Joanna, I would just love to hear your journey towards a more plant-based lifestyle.
Hi, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here on the very first episode of Wellness Snacks. So my journey started out many years ago, about over 10 years ago now. I'm a lifelong animal lover and lactose intolerant. So after reading a lot of books about factory farming, watching some documentaries, I decided to give up animal products, and I haven't looked back. This was in high school that this happened, so many years ago.
Great. And so since then, have you noticed any health benefits to, cutting your consumption of meat and eating more fruits and vegetables?
So definitely in the sense that I don't have a chronic stomach ache anymore as a person who's lactose intolerant. That's been a huge help and quality of life improvement for me. But at the same time, I think it's a common misconception that a vegan diet is automatically healthy. It's very possible to eat unhealthily on a vegan diet. A lot of people like to point out that Oreos are vegan, despite having that cream filling. So yes, I do think I've seen some health benefits, but that's because I've been careful about what I've eaten.
So with that being said, this brings us to the portion of our podcast where our guest provides their 3 bite-sized wellness tips for our listeners. So Joanna, I'm curious to hear your 3 tips on how anyone can really explore a plant-based or vegan diet by just eating more fruits and vegetables and slowly cutting out meat or taking out all meat out of their diet. So would you want to start with the first tip?
Absolutely. So my first tip is don't feel like you need to go cold turkey. And yes, that's absolutely meant to be a pun. But our diets are our behaviors, and they're based over years of patterns and our cultures. So it's really hard to change those things. So when you're trying to incorporate more plants into your diet, set a realistic goal so you don't feel discouraged if you don't meet an unrealistic goal. So maybe choose a certain type of meat. A lot of people start by removing red meat, or you can choose a certain meal of the day to cut out animal products. Say you have like a vegan breakfast or something, or you can pick a day of the week. So a lot of people have heard the term meatless Mondays. So just start slow. Don't feel like you have to jump right into it. It's okay.
So that brings us to tip 2.
So my second tip is to find plant-based foods that have the flavors and the textures that you crave. So a lot of people think that vegan food is just sad salads with lettuce and tomato and blah. But it doesn't have to be. There's so many different ways to eat vegan. An example I like to use is that before I stopped eating meat, I loved a chicken shawarma. Loved like the spices on the chicken and the feeling of the pita and the vegetables. It's delicious. But so now I have a falafel pita, which is completely vegan and still has that crunch, those spices. And so it satisfies the same craving. And another tip involved in that is to use the same flavors that you love while you cook. So I love spicy food. So, some people might be putting their sriracha on chicken, but I put it on my tofu. So whatever you crave, whatever you reach for, bring that into your plant-based diet as well.
And that brings us to our third and final tip, Joanna.
All right, the last tip is to take this as an opportunity to explore new foods and cuisines. So a lot of people say that they feel deprived when they try to eat plant-based. And yeah, you are depriving yourself of some things, but you can also view it as an opportunity to try things that you haven't tried before. And food should be fun. Food is fun for most people, and it doesn't have to be not fun just because you're eating plant-based. So try out a new vegetable or a grain. If you walk around your grocery store, I'm sure you'll find something you've never tried before. I tried bulgur recently in this last year, which is very filling and kind of fun. And also use the power of your networks to try new foods. So you probably have a friend or a coworker who eats very differently from you. So reach out to them and ask them for tips, and you might find something that really changes your habits.
So there you have it. Joanna just served us 3 wellness snacks that can help us eat more plants and less meat. And that brings us to the final part of our podcast. What is Daniel snacking? And this is where I share a wellness trick that I've come across or am personally using to live a bit healthier. So a couple of years ago, I came across an article titled "The Magical Spice That Makes Vegetables Taste Like Bacon." And I'm sure you're wondering what that spice is. Well, it's Spanish smoked paprika. And since I love bacon, I definitely had to try this out. So that night, I roasted some broccoli, sprinkled it with some smoked paprika, and to be honest, well, it really didn't taste like bacon. But it definitely makes vegetables taste better, and it gives meat eaters that smoky, salty sweetness that we all crave. So next time, try it out. When you're preparing some vegetables, throw in some smoked paprika, and then maybe just use your imagination that you're biting into a crisp piece of bacon. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you to all our listeners, and we'll see you at our next Wellness Snacks podcast.